Welcome, everyone, to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is the Grumpy Old Man. They say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grump, how are you today, my friend?
Oh, peachy keen. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. That being said, TJ and the Grumpy Old Man is a sports podcast where we just have a good time talking sports and we shoot the shit. We do this podcast every single Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. Grump,
Yes.
let me ask you this, man. Now, there's...
Jumping right into something right away. I like it.
I am. We usually don't talk a whole lot of baseball, especially in the MLB offseason. But man, oh man, have you been keeping up with these the meetings and the proposals that Rob Manfred and the MLB are putting forward towards a players' association?
Yeah. What's the one thing you hate about Major League Baseball, right?
There's a lot you hate about Major League Baseball.
Well, for me, it seems like they're always just a labor strike away from killing the sport. And now it seems like Rob Manfred really wants to maybe be proactive. He wants to have the owners lock out the players starting December 2nd. And I just don't know if that's really a smart thing to do, honestly. The players union is the strongest in all of sports, and I just don't think that they respond to threats.
Yeah, and did you happen to read any of the actual nuances of the original proposal? So the proposal they originally proposed like months ago was that, hey, we want to try to get rid of arbitration. They want to bring some sort of structure to how they pay players because, right, MLB pays players there's no salary cap. You've got the luxury tax and items like that, but they wanted to try to change that, right? We want to get rid of arbitration. They're not a big fan of that and how it's used currently with re-signing and signing new MLB players. So they said, well, the way we want to go ahead and propose to this in the future, get rid of arbitration, but MLB players are not able to be free agents until 29 and a half years old.
Well, no, it's based on years of service. So, that's what the players are saying, what ownership is saying. And here's the thing, players really don't like arbitration either. They get their little feelings hurt because, the team says mean things about them in efforts to keep their salaries down, right? And naturally, the players like arbitration because they can match it up with like players in their group. But long story short, what Major League Baseball has tentatively proposed, like I said, I don't think anything is set in stone. They would agree on some type of fixed measurement, if you will, that's agreed to by the Players Association as well as the owners on how they would do it based on it. For their presentation, they used wins against replacement.
Yes.
Don't ask me to explain that because I can't.
It's wins above replacement. Or is it wins against whatever war?
Wins above replacement.
Wins above replacement. Okay.
What it is in essence is if an average player is worth this, if you're the higher your wins above replacement, the better player you are. So that's how they want to do it, and they want to have it to be set structures of how much they get paid. The players don't like that, of course. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, for me, I just think there's too many things to be ironed out right now. Like I said, they just put that as a possible scenario. So, of course, the players come back and say, well, the first 3 years, you're in the minors and your salary's totally controlled. The first 3 years, you're under total control of the team for salary structure. And then 3 more years of arbitration, you could be in your 30s before you get to hit free agency. I'm sure there are things that they can negotiate around that. But here's the thing. The good players get their money. That's for certain. And that's just the way it is in any sport. I know the players are unhappy right now that it seems like average salaries are down. You want to know why? Because they're not paying starting pitchers as much because of all this stuff that they're doing, all the analytics geeks it's driving down the value of starting pitchers, and relief pitchers are still not being paid more just based on the innings they pitch.
Well, yeah, Grump, again, I want to show you that it was suggested 29 and a half years old is when you could be a free agent, as it popped up there on screen. That was the original proposal in August. That is still what they're interested in, to try to also get rid of arbitration. But yeah, it's the wins above replacement is yikes. Here's the thing. You listen to what agents around the league say, and ex-MLB players. They said that Albert Pujols has a higher chance of exiting retirement and leading the league in stolen bases than this proposal has of passing. So you wonder if it's just, hey, we want to go in with very, very, big expectations, but in reality, we're going to rein things back, and that's how we're going to use it as a bargaining chip. Oh, we went ahead and moved the line closer to you, so we need you to move closer to us.
If the players would agree to a salary cap in some way, and they won't.
No.
Like I said, they are the most powerful sports union in the world and have been since the 70s. And they stick together. They absolutely stick together. If they would cave on that, I think all these other things would kind of fall in line. I just find it interesting that Manfred feels that threatening them with a lockout this year is the way to go. They're not going to respond well to that.
No.
And the owners have to be willing then to say, what? Hey, we'll take the season off. I mean, are they willing to do that a year after the pandemic? I don't know.
Here's the thing. A lockout never works out well for anybody involved. It's just how it is. It doesn't work out to the players well. They're not getting paid, especially your average everyday Joe. Unless you're an MLB superstar, you're not getting paid hand over fist. A lot of those guys are like, hey, I'm making good money, but in the same token, I'm not making 20 some odd million a year like some of these other players are. If you're younger and still breaking your way in, don't have a whole bunch of endorsement deals, you're going to be kind of up a creek without a paddle. That's for certain. Alexander saying, good evening, guys. Glad to see you guys back again. Hope you guys are staying safe and doing good. Thanks, Alexander. That we are. And it says, how about Noah Syndergaard leaving?
I'll tell you what, I have no problem with him leaving. I think the Mets are in a shambles right now.
God almighty, I'm going to murder you. Continue.
And I just can't believe that the Angels paid him $21 million.
For a guy that has injury questions all over the place, I was kind of shocked by that as well.
I mean, he's missed 2 years in a row, and he almost came back this year, re-injured himself, didn't contribute. I'm rooting for him, though. Now, here's a guy who's never been paid before, right? It's just interesting. You see Justin Verlander signing, coming off of Tommy John surgery at 38 years old, is going to be making $25 million. He turned down an $18.5 million deal from Houston. What's the thing that they have to sign? A qualifying offer for $18.5 million. He turned it down, and he winds up signing there for 25. So I mean, if you can pitch, you can throw a lot of innings, you're gonna get money.
But think about that, right? Syndergaard was a firecracker, outstanding with the Mets when healthy before the injuries kind of start to pile up on him. And you're right, he never got paid. Look at Pete Alonso. I'm not saying Pete Alonso is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Pete Alonso is a very competent first baseman who hits for power, puts up power numbers. His salary is extremely low too. I know he gets a lot with endorsement deals and everything like that because he's got a good face, good smile, and he plays in the Big Apple. But it's the system of how the MLB has it currently is odd. Because you're right, those players, even when they hit 24, 25 years old, they're not getting paid.
Look at Aaron Judge, right? He's been getting paid nothing. And now, they're having a hard time getting together on a deal. Would you pay Aaron Judge big money? I wouldn't. I mean, look at his age. He's 28 years old? It gets to be, are you going to pay guys in their 30s based on past performance? I don't.
Hell, it sounds almost like you're talking about a pride. You're talking about a different podcast, Grumpy. But yeah, Aaron Judge, what is he going to be? He's 29 to be 30 years old this year. You're right. I mean, he's a bigger guy, so you hope the power continues. But he's played extremely well. He's put up great power numbers. He's hit, his batting average has been, kind of inconsistent at times.
But they don't last as long. Bigger players don't let things break down on bigger players for the most part.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Position players, yes.
That being said, yeah, I did think it was odd. Noah Syndergaard came out and said when he was speaking with the Los Angeles Angels, he said the Mets were almost radio silent with him. He didn't hear anything from the Mets during that time period at
Didn't
all.
have a GM until today. Billy Epler just signed as their GM. I mean, why is he taking that job when you know that they're chasing after David Stearns, with Milwaukee? I mean, we talked about that last podcast. Who's willing to take that job? For him, good for him, right? I mean, if anything, it's just a resume builder. If he does something there and turns him around, even if they want to go with Stearns, he'll have something to build on. I just think the Mets, they're just poorly run. I hate to say it.
Tony Cheese, what's up? He's saying 6 hot dogs, a McGillicuddy, and the grumpy old man.
Did you eat hot dogs today?
I actually, here's the thing. I had to work late today, so I didn't eat lunch probably until about 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. So I'll be eating dinner after the podcast, a late dinner. What can I say, Grump?
Did you have 6 hot dogs for lunch?
No, unfortunately, I didn't have 6 hot dogs for lunch, Grump. I had a few. I had some leftovers, but not 6 hot dogs. Alexander also saying Rob Manfred really wants to kill the sport. Unreal. Where's Bud Selig when you need him?
I didn't think Bud Selig was any great shakes as a GM, to be honest with you. But it's I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't think it's the commissioner or the owners. It's the analytic geeks that are killing the sport. That's what I think it is. It's like a Stratomatic game to them. You don't let a pitcher go more than 2 times through a lineup. You yank them out just because a stat will show this. It's like they have no feel for the game. To me, it's just disappointing. It really is.
I tell you,
I used to love baseball. To me, it's almost unwatchable now. Strikeout, home run, walk. That's what it is. Nobody plays situational ball. They all put on the shift. If somebody puts on a shift, what should the player do? He should adjust and go the other way. But they don't do it. It's mind-boggling to me.
Let me ask you. So you think this all started with Billy Beane?
Yes.
Paul DePodesta?
Yep, former first-round pick of the New York Jets.
Well,
New York Mets.
Yeah, Billy Beane and Paul DePodesta. Those are, for those who are unfamiliar, the individuals that have the movie Moneyball created after them.
Great book by Michael Lewis. If you ever get a chance to read it, you should.
And Alexander's thinking maybe Syndergaard's going to come back. He only signed a 1-year deal. He thinks they might come back to the Mets.
Why would he come back to the Mets?
I mean, on a 1-year deal, it just kind of tells you what Los Angeles thinks too, right? We think you're an ultra talented player, but you got to kind of prove it because you've had plenty of injuries in the past, and we need you to sort through those. But yeah,
a year and a half with Tommy John. Before that, he had the torn lat,
the PCL surgery too.
I mean, he's had so many injuries. He was never going to get more than 1-year deal. I was just surprised they paid him that much, honestly. That's a lot of money for a guy who hasn't pitched in quite a while.
Injuries. I'll tell you.
And that's why you don't sign pitchers to like 10-year deals. That's the reason. Pitchers are different now. Everything's power pitching. Man, when Greg Maddux was pitching, he only threw the ball like 88, 89 miles an hour, but he could pick spots. Glavine, those guys. Now, Glavine lived on the outside, 2-3 inches off the plate and got those calls. But those guys knew how to pitch. You didn't have to throw the ball 100 miles an hour. It's all about movement. That's what fooling the hitter, keeping the hitter off balance. That's what it's about.
Speaking about one other MLB item, Grumpy, today, Bryce Harper named NL MVP for the second time of his career. I want to ask you what you think about this. It seems to be a relatively polarizing MVP selection. People are saying, hey, Austin Riley should have been NL MVP. People not very happy. I mean, it seems like, hey, Shohei Ohtani definitely was shoe-in, no doubt about it. Even though Vlad Guerrero Jr. had a hell of a season, Ohtani just did something we'll probably never see again in the sport. But Bryce Harper, Grump, do you think deservedly so wins the NL MVP?
I thought it was a weak crop this year. I think Juan Soto was actually the best all-around player, but he had a slow first half. He was on fire the second half of the year. But his power numbers, he only had 29 home runs, didn't have over 100 RBIs or close to it, whatever it was. But it was kind of an underwhelming crop. You had Tatis. a lot of these guys got hurt, right? You miss a lot of time, it's going to hurt your numbers. Bryce Harper, to his credit, it's like 1 year he's great, the next year he blows. I mean, that's just the way his career. He's like a yo-yo, this guy, all the time. This is his second MVP. And honestly, when people were trumpeting him as MVP earlier or towards the end of the season, I'm like, Bryce Harper, really? And then I had to look at his stats. Yeah, he put up good numbers this year. But like for me, he's not a guy I want on my team. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of his. Never have been.
I think you hit it nail on the head there. He is a freaking yo-yo when it comes to performance. Some years he's fantastic. Other years he is abominable. I mean, you look at the stats this year, 35 homers, only had 84 RBIs with 35 home runs.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought the Soto kid is the best player in the National League. He really is. But he was injured, and he was, here's the thing. You put up numbers like that at the end of the year, and you're playing for a team that's out of the playoff hunt, you're kind of not looked at as seriously as somebody else.
Yep. I will tell you, the one thing that's always pissed me off about baseball when it comes to Cy Youngs specifically is wins. For whatever freaking reason, they always value wins so highly when it comes to who they select for the Cy Young. I'm just talking about things in the past, just a general grievance I have. I don't understand why wins hold any bearing at all with who gets selected for the Cy Young. I think it's moronic.
I don't think wins are the be all end all. I think ERA, strikeouts, those are the things, how deep you're able to pitch into games. I think that's what wins you a Cy Young award. I remember Steve Carlton, he won 27-3 1 year for a team in Philadelphia that only won 59 games the whole year. But he was absolutely dominant, had 329 strikeouts, an ERA under 2. And this was an era when, they were scoring runs. And it was a no-doubter. I mean, you can tell just by the way seasons are, who the dominant pitchers are. But it's getting tougher and tougher now, right? Because starting pitchers don't go as deep in games anymore. I never think a reliever should ever win a Cy Young award. Everyone else would have to be miserable starting pitcher-wise. But it's, like I said, it's crazy. You look, Corbin Burns won from Milwaukee in the National League, and the American League was Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray had a career year this year at 32, right? Garrett Cole was second. Lance Lynn was third in the voting. And I mean, I know a lot of those guys because they were on my fantasy team, but Robbie Ray came out of nowhere this year. Garrett Cole had a down year, and he was second in Cy Young voting. And Lance Lynn was hurt for a long period of time. It's just crazy. Burns didn't have a whole lot of wins for Milwaukee, but he had a boatload of strikeouts. So, I mean, what can you say?
So Alexander, DeGrom, I do remember in 2018 when he did win the Cy Young with a 1.25 ERA, but do you remember that year they had talked about the entire season? Oh, I know, he's a Cy Young candidate, but Max Scherzer, he's just putting up wins in droves. And they used wins as this rationale as to why other pitchers deserve to win the Cy Young over Jacob DeGrom, who that season, think about it. People we're trying to make cases as to why Jacob DeGrom, with a 1.25 ERA, should not win the MVP or the Cy Young. That stuff was mind-blowing to me. That being said, Grump, I don't want to continue too much on baseball. We talked a good bit about baseball today. What a film saying, talking about awards, did you guys ever receive any that were special? Grump, did you ever receive any special awards?
I won some all-star trophies when I was a kid playing ball.
Okay. Won some all-conference items in college, but that was about it. Nothing crazy regarding awards or accolades. That's for certain.
You're an offensive lineman. They don't get a whole lot of those.
Oh, man. Now, Grump, did you happen to hear what's going on with Antonio Brown?
Yeah, I tell you, just when you think Antonio Brown can keep his nose clean. Now, okay, the guy who's supposedly ratting him out, he was his former personal chef, and Antonio Brown owed him $10,000. Antonio Brown hasn't paid him, so now he's saying this. They've all come out and strenuously denied this. All I know is there has to be a record if he did have a vaccination. I know supposedly it's a phony vaccination card. Why would you go and talk about something like that to a chef?
I was about to say, what type of relationship do you have with your former chef that you're like, hey, buddy, look at me. I got my fake vaccine card.
Well,
Eh,
well, supposedly first it was the girlfriend going, "Hey, can you get us fake vaccine cards?" Who goes to a personal chef and asks if you can get fake vaccination cards?
hey, I know you cook us a hell of a risotto, but I heard you got the in with the fake vaccine, the fake COVID vaccine cards. Can you go ahead and hook me up, brother? Can you go ahead and hook me up, my pal? No.
The strenuous denials, and then you hear the NFL, well, that could lead to punishment. Okay, you know what? Do a little bit of just keep your mouth shut and do what you do best, which is keep your mouth shut and stick your head in the sand. You ostriches up in Manhattan. Just do that until we find out what actually happened. Again, we want to. It's just it's okay to attack people who don't toe the company line. Now, that said, if he lied about it and told people he was vaccinated and he wasn't, that's a problem. I have a problem with that. Just be honest. If you don't want to get vaccinated, just do it. Just say it. Just own it. I know you're going to get backlash by the public, but that's a personal choice. But I mean, if he's vaccinated now, no harm, no foul, as far as I'm concerned.
And here's the thing, too, right? The Buccaneers have come out and said, we examined every single one of these vaccination cards and we made sure that, hey, these are all, valid. We had thorough people observe these personnel. There were no irregularities observed either. So you just kind of think to yourself, all righty. His lawyer also came out and said, he's vaccinated, get vaccinated like Antonio Brown, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, this is one of those items, too, where I'm like, we might just want to halt a little bit regarding the speculation on this one. We might want to go ahead and halt a little bit with this.
Now, here's the thing. Rick Stroud, I believe, is the reporter who reported this.
Mhm.
He was pissed that Brady didn't talk longer than a minute and a half after Sunday's loss to the Washington football team. And he was, you owe us more than that. Oh, dude, he doesn't owe you anything, first of all. But he was butthurt over that. And then he does a Tampa show, I guess every Wednesday, and all of a sudden on Thursday he comes out with this story. I don't know. You tell me. I'm just not a big believer in coincidence, shall we say?
And here's the thing: do I think it's plausible that an ex-employee who is claiming, and I'm sure going to bring some sort of legal action forward against his ex-employer, that he owes him money, that would then be trying to besmirch his name any way possible? Would I be shocked by that? Absolutely not.
You mean people do that?
Yeah, grumpy people.
Okay, I didn't realize. I thought everyone was above board. That's what I thought.
What a film saying, yeah, I think it's better for some people not to fight COVID naturally. I'm a non-vaxxer. It's too bad that athletes have to be vaccinated. I believe it's your choice, man. If you want to do it, do it. If it makes you feel good, man, do it by all means. And if you don't want to do it, who am I to tell you what to do?
Yeah,
But
I don't believe in
I'm vaccinated, but that's what I feel.
Right, I'm vaccinated as well, but I don't believe in mandates. I don't think people should lose their jobs because they're not vaccinated. Uh, I mean, the death totals are way, way, way down because you're seeing herd immunity now, right? I mean, that's the way every disease winds up working. Good for that. I mean, people say, well, you're testing positive. Well, if you're not getting sick, your body's doing what it's supposed to do, which is fighting off an illness. And I consider that great news, honestly. It doesn't matter if you test positive. If you're not getting sick, that's great. Good for you. Fantastic. Your body is able to fight off an illness.
That being said, too, did you happen to see what happened with ex-NFL running back Zach Stacy today?
Yes, but go ahead. Let everyone else know.
I here's the thing. I kind of don't want to show the video. It's Grumpy.
You're
It's
reporting
bad.
now. You're a journalist, aren't you?
It's bad, Grump. Well, here's the thing. It's one of those bad type of videos to where, you know, on TV when they're covering this, right? This is national news. The guy's on the run right now. They've got a warrant out for his arrest, and oh my gosh, it's bad. It's grumpy. Did you happen to watch the video?
I did not watch the video because I don't like watching things like that. So
yeah, it's bad.
You don't have to show it.
Here's the thing. I won't show it too because it's when you watch the video, there's a few items I took away from it, and it's funny, right? You always see people try to make everything political. Always, right? We're just here to talk sports and shoot the shit. This is a video of a guy. It's about the video I watched. It was from two separate angles. So there's like two video cameras that happen to catch the assault on the lady, and it happens to be like about 45 seconds to about a minute long. And oh, it's bad. He's punching her, slapping her in the head, and throws her into the TV. The TV falls on top of her. She's like laid down in the turtle position. He picks her up, and I kid you not, like, and I'm trying to be as respectful as possible with this. Seriously, it looks like he was pulling a WWE move. He picks her up, grabs her by the neck, and throws her on top of some sort of baby apparatus, like a hover round for a baby. It literally looked like, if you were to tell me like, hey, we could go ahead and do like a fake skit like that WWE wise, that is exactly what it would look like. It's brutal to watch. It's not, and you could tell by the way she's reacting, it's not the first time she's been beat either. So there's a warrant out for his arrest. If you want to check it out, you could check the video out. We're not going to show it on here just because it's brutal, and I don't feel like rewatching it again. It's seriously depressing. It's depressing.
Okay. I don't want to comment because I could say funny things that I consider funny, but those are serious situations. So
I know you haven't seen the video yet. It's not a laughing matter. It's hard to watch, Grump. That's for certain. And then what a film said, TJ, I'm looking for some curling fights. Nothing yet, but I'm trying. Could you imagine some curling fights? Somebody's using that little stick to whack somebody else on the head.
It's a gentleman's sport, curling, isn't it?
It is. It's supposed
to. I love seeing fights like that. I find them hilarious.
Stephen Porter saying TJ blinding us with his bright, tiny white arms.
Now, Stephen Porter knows TJ.
Yes, he does.
And he's very accurate in his description. Very astute. He's like the Sherlock Holmes of the podcast.
That is it. Alexander saying, oh my God, that was terrible. I saw that pathetic, absolutely pathetic as a father of a daughter. My daughter, being a husband, I did that to her. Oh my God, be better, be running because, I gotta say he's gone. Here's the thing with that too. You watch that, God almighty, what a rough environment, because it's not the first time. You can just tell by it happened. It's not the first time he's beaten her. It just,
well, I don't know that. Neither do you.
Here's the thing. He's hammering the hell out of her, and she's not crying. She's not yelping out in pain. She gets hit, and she's like, please, Zach, stop. It seems like she has been in that situation before. Here's the thing. I encourage you off the air to watch it. That's at least what I gathered. I wonder if other people have gathered that, because she's not like, here's the thing. If you're getting your ass kicked and you're getting punched, unless you've been there before, especially if you're getting beaten hell out of you, there's no chance for defense. I would assume most people are going to be a little bit more vocal, or they're going to be a little bit more, distraught by it. She just was like, oh my God, I've been in this situation before. This is how I try to avoid it. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Or maybe that's just how she reacted. I will tell you, the way it was like 3 or 4 sequences of beating the heck out of this lady where it looked like this is not his first time doing it either. It was, it's rough. It's rough to watch. Again, if you don't want to be depressed, don't watch it, because I guarantee you'll be a little saddened by that. What a film saying, yeah, TJ loves his muscle shirts.
No one else does.
You know what, Grump? I get home from the gym. What do you want me to dirty up another shirt by putting a new shirt?
Okay, hold on. So are you trying to say that shirt, you're going to continue to wear that shirt? That shirt's not dirty? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Because I don't want to live around your house.
No. I shower afterwards, but I
just said, what do you want me to get? Another shirt dirty?
I wear a nighttime shirt. You want me wearing a beat up nighttime shirt on the podcast? You already come out.
That looks like a beat up nighttime shirt.
Come
I mean, just be just a tad professional. God, I'm Superman. Who are you? No Muscles McGill.
No Muscles McGill. No Muscle McGillicuddy. That being said, Grump, I want to talk a little bit about the leading rushers in the NFL. Now, Derrick Henry's been out for the last 2 weeks, got hurt, what was it, 3 weeks ago? He's missed at least 2 weeks, 2 full weeks of action. He still is tied for the NFL lead in rushing yards. How insane is that, Grump?
Well, it'll change after this week.
Well,
And Nick Chubb has also missed the last 2 weeks too.
it makes me question one thing. Does it mean, first off, that Derrick Henry is that spectacular, or does it mean that running backs are really underutilized in today's game, and Tennessee is one of the few teams that's willing to utilize a running back extensively?
That's exactly what it is. A throwing league. It's not a running league. You know that.
So you
Cleveland's a running team.
you don't think it's Derrick Henry's spectacular play that has him still rated as the number one running back. You think it's or number one running back with rushing yards. You think it's the fact that the running backs are generally underutilized in Tennessee utilizes their running back more than others is the reason why he's still atop that list.
No, he's been fantastic this year, but they're not a throwing offense. They're having to change now and morph out of that strictly running offense now. They have to do it just because he's not there anymore. I mean, that being said, he was fantastic this year, but they're predominantly a running offense. The same thing with Indianapolis and Cleveland. And Dallas likes to run the ball as much as anyone. I mean,
but
you're
Dallas,
not going to see.
think about those teams, right? The Cleveland Browns have the 2 running back system. The Dallas Cowboys have the 2 running back system. I know that Dalvin Cook has missed some time with the Minnesota Vikings. So you just think it's running backs are underutilized? Here's the question I want to ask you.
Okay. You're saying underutilized, right? You have. I'll take Jonathan Taylor because he's played every game. So what is he? 10 games in. He has almost 1,000 yards. So he's going to probably put up at least 1,600 yards this year. Is that a bad season for a running back? I don't think so.
I'm just saying, Jonathan Taylor hasn't missed any games, I don't believe, due to injury. And
that's what I just said.
Derrick Henry's been out for 2 of those games. I'm just saying the numbers he's put up are fantastic, right? He's led the league in rushing yards per game, and he's in the lead right now here for rushing yards per game the last 3 years. What I was going to branch this off to is if Derrick Henry is able to stay relatively healthy, again, because running backs don't get healthier the more and more they play. Do you think he might be able to make a claim for the Hall of Fame?
Yes. Yes, because the role of the running back has been diminished in the last number of years. So I think when you see big numbers from running backs, it's an aberration at this point in time. Like I said, now it used to be wide receivers. Oh, man, wide receivers. If you have 10,000 yards as a receiver or whatever number you want to use, you are automatically in the Hall of Fame. That's not going to be the case anymore because it's a throwing league. Everybody's making plays like that. When you see somebody who truly stands out at their position, those are truly Hall of Famers. And Derrick Henry has been one of those guys the last few years. Careers are short, though, in the NFL, as you know, and particularly for running backs. Who knows how he's going to come back from this foot surgery, knee surgery, whatever it is. There's certainly going to be an adjustment time. Will he come back this year? I doubt it.
They said they expect him hopefully early January, so maybe around the playoff time, a playoff push is what they're expecting. What if
they have the easiest schedule the rest of the season? They're in good shape. Mike Vrabel's a really good coach.
They're also 8-2. Go ahead, Grum.
Yeah, nothing but good things to say about Vrabel. They're in the driver. They're 2 games up on every team in the AFC. They're in the driver's seat for first overall seed, without a doubt.
What a film saying, where's Paige, TJ? Can we talk to her about your dress code?
I think we need to talk to Paige about a lot of things regarding TJ.
Oh, man. What a film's also saying, looking good. Again, Grumpy. Hope you rub off on TJ.
Obviously, that's not happening.
Oh, man. Maybe one day. It's going to take a while, though. He also says, the Cowboys, they're looking good, Grumpy. They're coming for Brady.
As a Cowboy fan, I know Wood is a Cowboy fan. You got to like the way that they bounced back after getting embarrassed by Denver at home. You have to like the way they came back and just absolutely throttled Atlanta last week.
Yes.
That's what good teams do. Let's be honest, right? Are they good enough to win a Super Bowl? I don't think so. I don't trust their coaching staff. Tampa Bay has their own issues. Honestly, they got some goofs in the coaching positions there. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating as a Tampa Bay, as a Tom Brady fan. You listen to Bruce Arians talk, and he's like, Mike Evans isn't getting the ball enough. He's back to that. I'm like, dude, you realize it's about winning, not getting somebody targets. You want to get Mr. Softy more targets. He never fights for a contested ball ever. If it's ever, you can out-muscle him and bully him all the time. And I'm not saying he's not talented. He's a good receiver, not a great receiver.
Let me ask you this. I would say probably in the last 20 years, I think this is the best chance the Cowboys have to win the Super Bowl. You look at the last 20 years, right? They always say they had years where they were good under Romo. I think this year's team for them is a more complete team than in the last 20 years of the Cowboys. And again, the Cowboys are one of those fan groups. Either you love the Cowboys or you hate them. They've got a lot of fans all over the place. The Cowboys have fans all across the country, all across the world. They're America's team, branded and dubbed America's team. I think this year is probably one of the more complete teams that the Dallas Cowboys have had in the last 20 seasons.
I think what you're going to see, because Cowboy fans are like 17-year cicadas, where they pop out of the ground, they procreate, they burrow back in the ground, and they live in the dirt for 17 years, and then they pop out. That's what you're going to see from Cowboy fans.
What a Films is a Cowboys fan. He's been a proud Cowboys fan since even before.
I'm not saying Wood. I'm not saying him.
Oh, no. Alexander's saying the Dolphins have the easiest schedule as well. They could run the table.
Ugh, no, sorry.
I'm not sure. I know they played well against Baltimore, but
they have to play New England. New England's really playing well right now.
I always say two things. You're never as good as you think, and you're never as bad as you think. So even when things look great, you're never that good. And when things look bad, you're never that bad. Stephen Porter's saying here, just talk to Paige. She said, I'm not TJ's mother.
I don't think TJ's mother even wants to be his mother.
Looky there, Grumpy. I want to talk about a little college football playoffs action, Grump. We're getting close, man. We are getting close to the finals of who we're going to see for the college football playoffs. Now, there's 2 weeks left this year in college football, and then you go to your conference championships. And Grump, this is how things look here at the moment. You've got the top 10 teams, Georgia at number 1, Alabama at number 2, Oregon at number 3, Ohio State number 4, Cincinnati number 5, Michigan number 6, Michigan State number 7, Notre Dame number 8, Oklahoma State number 9, and Wake Forest number 10, Grump. And this here gives us a nice outline of what the top team, as per their current college football playoff ranking, is that they have beaten so far this season.
Georgia is the best team in the country. Alabama's probably the second best, but if they lose to Georgia again, I don't see how they can make the Final Four. You cannot lose 2 games during the regular season and be in the top 4 when you have other teams that are undefeated or are conference champions. Because if Alabama has 2 losses, let's say they lose to Georgia, they won't even be conference champions. How do you put them in the top 4? Now, if Alabama beats Georgia, then I think you see both teams make the top 4. I think Oregon, their toughest test is this week against Utah. Ohio State still has Michigan and Michigan State.
Yep.
So they're going to, if they can win out, they will be in the top 4. I don't want to see the imposter team in Cincinnati make the top 4, though. I'm rooting for everybody else over them. I don't want to see Notre Dame in there. Who's Notre Dame beaten?
Wisconsin, number 15 was. That's why I've got it. Grump. You didn't even need to ask that question. That's why I pulled it up for you.
No, I'm just saying, but Wisconsin's not a great team.
Wisconsin, I know they're 7-3. They're 7-3 and 15th rated at the moment. But yeah,
you got to beat more than one good team in a season.
So here's the thing: Wisconsin's beat teams like Purdue. They've beaten a few, but. I digress, Grumpy. I mean, Wisconsin, they're not the greatest team in the world, but they've turned it on.
Looks like everybody's beaten Wisconsin.
They lost their first 3 games of the season, right? They lost to Michigan. They lost to Michigan State. And I think they lost to I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it was Ohio State at that time period, but
Maybe it's
Wisconsin
Notre
lost.
Dame.
They started off. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Notre Dame. They lost to two conference teams. They're going to be probably on the other side. They're going to be playing the Big Ten championship. That being said, I was shocked. Ohio State yet has not beaten a team rated in the top 25 of the college football playoffs at the moment. Think about that.
Well, that's going to have to change starting this week because they have Michigan State, then they have Michigan, and then they have the Big Ten championship game. So they're going to be playing three ranked probably in the top 10 teams the rest of the way.
If they make it, Grump, that's a big if.
Well, I'm just saying, you said they haven't played anybody. I said in the next 3 weeks they will.
Think about it. If Michigan, think about this. If Michigan plays Maryland this week, and if Michigan finally beats Ohio State, it'd be the first time under Harbaugh that Michigan would beat Ohio State. Ohio State doesn't even make the conference playoffs, and Ohio State's on the outside looking in. Think about that.
But then Michigan should jump over Cincinnati and be number 4. I just don't want Cincinnati in there. I'm just flat out telling you, I don't want to see because I enjoy watching college bowl games. That's one I won't even have to watch. Georgia will absolutely kill Cincinnati. Kill them. The only time you see a big team lose to one of those teams is like when they're not in contention for a national championship and they're just kind of mailing it in because it's the biggest game of the year for the little scrappy underdog Bearcats. That's for certain. But let's say they were playing, I don't know. Let's say Ohio State doesn't make it and Ohio State plays Cincinnati. Well, that's not good because they're too close. Let's say Michigan State, for instance. It's a game that doesn't matter for Michigan State anymore because they're not going to make the playoffs. And for Cincinnati, it's still a big deal to show, hey, we can play with the big boys.
So, and I think that's a good point, Grumpy, that you bring up. It means a lot more for those smaller schools. For certain, it does. That being said, to speak a little bit about the schedule this weekend, right? Last weekend was kind of an weekend for college football. This weekend has the potential to be a huge weekend for college football. You've got Wake Forest going against Clemson. I know Clemson has 3 losses. Wake Forest is kind of still on my radar. I think Clemson could pull off an upset against Wake Forest. You've got the marquee game, Ohio State playing Michigan State, number 5 against number 7. That is the biggest game this weekend, without a doubt, Grumpy.
Yeah. I think Michigan State's not bad, but I think Ohio State finds a way to beat them, honestly.
I do too. That also being said, you've got the Oregon Ducks against Utah, the Utah Utes. So that's a big game for Oregon, right? But the Pac-12 is so weak. It's still hard to believe that a 1-loss Pac-12 team is going to squeak in there. I know that it's a huge win, right? The win against Ohio State, I think, makes their resume. But do you wonder if Ohio State loses possibly the last 2 games of the season? Ohio State's a 3-loss team. Does that diminish their claim to be in the top 4? Does that allow a Cincinnati to squeak in and to make it over top? Remember, Cincinnati's playing a top 25 team and SMU still left to go.
Okay, Cincinnati sucks. I'm sorry. They're not a good team. They should not even be in the discussion for making the top 4. I don't care that they're undefeated. It was like, who was it? UCF a few years ago.
And UCF kicked the living shit out of Auburn in their bowl game.
Yeah, but it wasn't. That's my perfect example. It wasn't a Final Four game. It didn't mean anything to Auburn. They just missed out making the Final Four. And that's why I'm saying those games don't mean anything to those schools, where it's a big deal for the little underdog schools. You see that a lot. I remember when Alabama lost to Utah in the Sugar Bowl, and they got rolled. Alabama didn't care. They didn't make the Final Four. They didn't care. And they wound up getting killed by Utah. And it's more about the other team not coming out to play as opposed to the little team showing, hey, look at me. I remember Boise State beating Oklahoma one year. It's like, it was like the biggest thing ever that happened to Idaho.
So I think, and kind of changing topics a little bit, Grump, because I think there are examples of that. I still do think the larger schools want to come out and play, but I think it does mean more for the smaller school. There's no doubt about that. I'm not denying that. Now, there's 2 items.
Now, Oklahoma State, just real quick, if Oklahoma State wins out, they have a shot to make the Final Four. They have to have some things happen in front of them. but they're going to be playing a bunch of highly ranked teams as opposed to Cincinnati. They're going to have to play Oklahoma. They have to play who are they playing this week? I think another ranked team this week.
They play Texas Tech. They play Oklahoma the last week of the season, and then you play whoever the best team. So it could be either Baylor if they went out, or Oklahoma or Baylor. In that case, it would be Baylor. That being said, Grump, Oklahoma State might have a chance or claim at it. Does Oklahoma have the ability to squeak in? You can make the same exact argument for Oklahoma. Both teams are going to be playing. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma both will be playing back-to-back weeks. So in the last week of the season, they play a top 10 team, and in their conference championship, they'd also play another top 10 team. Are you trying to tell me if you beat two top 10 teams in back-to-back weeks, that team, doesn't matter if it's Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, does not deserve a shot at the college football playoffs?
I don't think Oklahoma has a shot. They haven't looked good all year. They don't pass the eyeball test. Oklahoma State does, particularly on defense. They're the third-ranked defense in the country. They pass the eyeball test. They really do. And I think they'll handle Oklahoma. I'm an Oklahoma fan, have been since the early 1970s, and they're just not good enough this year.
Fair enough, Grump. I'm just saying, right? Oklahoma plays Iowa State. They're no walkover team. I mean, I know they've been ranked at times throughout the season. They're 6-4. Iowa State's played well. It's a big game for Oklahoma. And then you're looking at possibly, because there's going to be a mix-up, right? Either if Michigan State loses, they're going to drop outside the top 10. You have to figure, right? Oklahoma might have a chance to jump up. I'm just saying, you're looking at the back-to-back week, whoever it's going to be, Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. It's going to be one of those two teams. They are going to be playing two top 10 teams in back-to-back weeks. And I'm just saying, whoever wins those, I think deserves the opportunity and the shot.
Deserves doesn't mean you're going to get that shot. You have Notre Dame ahead of them.
Okay. It's interesting you mentioned that. I want to bring this up, and I want to ask you about this. I think this is the reason that's going to kick Notre Dame right in the nuts, because remember, they wanted to be affiliated with the ACC, play every sport with the ACC, but they did not want to join the conference for football. They just wanted to have some sort of alliance where they played a few ACC teams every single year. Well, Notre Dame, I think it's going to kick you in the nuts, because this year, the only win you have is against Wisconsin, against a ranked team at the moment. Purdue's no longer ranked. And if you were in the ACC conference and you joined in some conference to some capacity, you would have the conference championship game where you'd be playing probably a top 10 Wake Forest team, or you'd be playing definitely a guaranteed top 25 team, which I think would make your claim stronger to make the college football playoffs if they went out, but they didn't.
Here's the thing. They didn't join the ACC in football because they had their own football deal with NBC. So you might think that this would kill them. I don't think it does at all, because if it does, they're crying all the way to the bank.
I'm not saying it hurts them. It doesn't hurt them in the pocket. I'm saying it hurts the team. The players want to be able to play for a college football playoff. And if you think to yourself, oh shit, if we were aligned with the conference, if we were playing Wake Forest, if we were playing possibly Pittsburgh in an ACC championship game, wherever we be aligned, we'd be in this picture. We'd be higher up that list, because both those teams, right? Pittsburgh has an easy schedule the remainder of the way. Wake Forest does play Clemson. That's a pretty tough game. But if Wake Forest is able to win, Wake Forest, they're going to be a top 10 team. Pittsburgh's just moving up the ladder if they're able to win out. And Notre Dame will be playing, again, another top 15 team. The way things lay out at the end of the season, if you beat them, I think that would give them claim to possibly make the college football playoffs, depending how everything else lays out.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee they're going to beat all those teams. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the ACC is down, first of all, this year.
Notre Dame plays Georgia Tech and Stanford the remainder of the way, the remainder of the season. I mean, Stanford, you're looking at Stanford's record, they're 3-7. Georgia Tech, I think, is 3-7 or 3-8. Georgia Tech's also miserable. So those are two very, very winnable games for Notre Dame, and you're going to end the season off with two teams that will not be bowl eligible. I just think that their chances to make the college football playoffs are non-existent. None.
All right, but the path is there.
No.
Things have to happen in front of them for them to qualify.
How can
things have to happen?
They're sitting at 8.
Things have to happen in front of them. That's what has to happen. Let's say Michigan State beats Ohio State. Ohio State is out, right? 2 losses. Then let's say Ohio State beats Michigan. Michigan's out. Then let's say Michigan State plays Wisconsin in a championship. Wisconsin wins. That means all 4 of those teams are out.
If Ohio State beats, here's the thing, a 2-loss Ohio State team would make it in over Notre Dame. If they beat, think about it, if they beat a top, think about it, if they lose this week to Michigan State, where do you think they drop? 11, maybe 10? They're not dropping out of the top 10. You beat Michigan the week after, a top 10 Michigan team. You move back up the boards. Then they're playing a Wisconsin team that's currently rated number 15. I'm telling you, they will have a chance. If a 2-loss Ohio State team would make it in over Notre Dame, because Notre Dame hasn't played anybody this season, and they're not going to have a conference championship to play in, and that's going to negatively impact Notre Dame. I promise you it will.
If Michigan State beats Ohio State, Michigan State goes to the championship game, not Ohio State.
If Michigan State loses that last game of the season, who else are they playing?
No, if they lose in the championship game against Wisconsin, then all 3 of those teams are out because they wind up eliminating one another. Like I said, things have to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I said things have to happen, and if it does, they could get into the top 4 because of name recognition alone. You don't understand the allure of Notre Dame. I know you're not a Notre Dame fan, but I'll tell you what, a lot of people are.
Michigan State, if they win, if they beat Ohio State this week, they play Penn State the last week of the season. Penn State could very easily beat Michigan State. That's all I'm going to say on that one. And think about that. It's a home game for Michigan State, but it would not shock me at all if Penn State could play an upset role in that. It wouldn't shock me at all if you go off to the high of, hey, we just beat. Because remember, Michigan State is playing Ohio State at Buckeye Stadium. They're playing at Buckeye Stadium, I believe it is, Grump. Or Ohio Stadium. I'm just telling you.
One of those teams
having a letdown. I could see them having a letdown the week after. That would mean Michigan State would have 2 losses in conference, and Ohio State, if they beat Michigan, would go to the conference championship game.
And if they lose the championship game of the Big Ten, they're not going.
Oh, you talk
That's
about
my point.
How many ifs, ands, or buts you'd have to have?
That's all I said was that there's a possibility for Notre Dame to make it to the Final Four. I didn't say it was probable. I just said it's possible. You just dismiss everything like nothing could possibly happen.
Alexander saying at the Jets, you play the Panthers and you play the Giants. You got a bye week. You play the Jets, and then at the Saints and at Tennessee. Patriots to wrap up the season, talking about the Miami Dolphins.
Well, those are 3 losses right at the end of the season, right there.
That's a tougher schedule than you think. I really think the Giants, they're going to have all their weapons back ideally by that game. And we said it before. This tells you all you need to know about Daniel Jones, if he's the answer or not. We're going to see really quick.
Okay, no. Daniel Jones, sorry. I'm sorry. You cannot make you cannot sell me Daniel Jones. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. I'm just saying, right, for anybody who even has a glimmer of hope that Daniel Jones, because I've seen every excuse in the book. I've seen, Daniel Jones is in a situation where he's never had all of his weapons healthy, and this will be the first time he's going to have all of his. I'm just telling you what people are arguing.
You know what else he's never had a game. He doesn't throw the ball accurate enough. He's just not good enough. Sorry.
What a film said. Have you guys looked at the Islanders' schedule? It's crazy. They even have 2 weeks off before they play their the last few season games. I swear the NHL hates the Islanders.
No, I just think it just a funky schedule this year with the late opening of
UBS
Arena.
UBS Arena. What is it? Bank of Switzerland. UBS, that's what it stands for. Bank of Switzerland. That being said, Universal Bank of Switzerland, I think. What a films, that's right. Well, think about it, right? They had it in New York where they had stopped. They didn't allow construction workers to go to work. They put the halt on everything, and they couldn't get the arena open in time. So they had to delay everything. And so that puts you on a 13-game road trip to start the season. You've got the Olympics, the Winter Olympics this year. So they already have that jam-packed into the season too. And it's just going to be a lot of games in a short time period for an old team.
Yeah, the condensed schedule hurts us. It really does. I mean, I know it was 13 straight games away from home, but they had plenty of breaks, plenty of time to be home. It's not like they were away from home for 30 days. They were home for quite a bit. Here's the thing. Bottom line is just we look lost out there on the ice, just lost.
What if Film's also saying, Grumpy, I know the Islanders are struggling. You certainly know it. And then there's TJ in his muscle shirts. I don't know how you're holding it together. I love you, Grump.
It's funny because I can get defeated sometimes when I just see the way things are going and I can't change it. And it's like, you go through the stages of depression, the stages of grief. And I'm just like almost in the acceptance stage right now.
Oh, goodness. Hey, what I say, Grump, things are never as good as you think, and they're also never as bad as you think. What a Films saying here, credit to TJ that we know is his football. Seems to have most of his brain cells intact after being in the grind.
Yeah, give TJ all the credit in the world for that. The whole thing is, I hate it when he starts talking offensive line play because that's not appealing to anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Not even offensive linemen.
All the good old offensive linemen. And
Stephen Porter can tell you that.
Oh, Alexander says here, the Saints, no quarterback. And Tennessee, no Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but they both have really good defenses.
I'll be honest. I'm shocked that Tennessee is still rattling off wins. You think about it. Derrick Henry's been out. Julio Jones is on the IR now, too.
Julio Jones has been a bust for them this year.
He has.
What a bust.
He has been. Now, let me ask you this. Does that tarnish Julio Jones' claim to make the Hall of Fame?
I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame anyway. He played for a loser Atlanta team. They're stat stuffers, right? I mean, and I don't hate Julio Jones, but when I think Hall of Fame, I don't think Julio Jones. I don't even think a whole lot of wide receivers, honestly. They're just an ancillary part of the game. There's nothing special. I mean, Calvin Johnson, yes. Freddie Biletnikoff, yes. But there's so many wide receivers out there now that they just it's like white noise, honestly.
So here's the thing with Julio Jones. Julio Jones is 32 years old. He ideally could continue playing. He's 17th already all time in receiving yards. And here's the thing. He's had such a miserable year this year. If this year was anything like he had in years past, he would be top 10 already all time receiving yards. I'm just saying this year in Tennessee, I think has really hurt his claim. Last year in 9 games for the Falcons, he had 771 receiving yards. This year in 6 games, only had 336, and now he's on the IR. I'm sorry. I think it really hurts, right? He was only 800 yards away from moving to 10th all time in receiving yards.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's not there. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Doesn't matter, right? I just guys who play their whole careers in domes, I'm sorry, you don't get ranked as high in my book. You just don't. Everything in perfect conditions. You don't even have to worry about weather for half of your season. I don't know. And particularly in today's offenses, it's like everyone has over 1,000 yards. Everybody has over 1,000 yards. So it kind of diminishes what having over 1,000 yards is for a wide receiver now.
Alexander saying, TJ Grump. I'll let you pronounce his name. I can't pronounce that.
Dean Chanauf.
Dean Chanauf is on Toronto staff, former Islander right there.
It's funny. I was watching a little bit of the Toronto Ranger game this evening, and I'll tell you what, even the Ranger, I love listening to what the other team's commentary says about certain squads. And they were talking about how Toronto this year has bought in more into the team approach. It's not just, racing up and down the ice, scoring goals. And that makes them really, really dangerous because they still have all that talent. But if they can button it up in the back end, they're tough to beat. And they were up 2-1 in halfway through the third.
They wound up winning 2-1 as well.
Okay. So I think they've won 10 of their last 11. And we play them. We're going to lose to them on Sunday.
Well, here's the thing. The Calgary Flames coming off a win against the Buffalo Sabres here today, a 5-0. What a Film saying, well, guys, give us a prediction for the Islanders home opener. And I know it's not the Islanders Never Say Die podcast, but I have to know.
I think the Islanders will win. The Islanders have to win. If they come out and play like they have the last few games and we get rolled, I think you could see the season spiral out of control real quick.
We said it once, and I'll say it again. This is either going to be a blessing in disguise, the Ryan Pulock injury, because we're going to have to be more reliant upon the Sebastian Ahos. We'll have to be more reliant upon the Noah Dobsons. We'll have to be more reliant upon the Robin Salos, or it could be a complete colossal blunder and a terrible situation for us. So it's either going to work out really well, or it's going to really be a struggle for us.
I mean, for me, Barry Trotz said that the team is fragile. And I'm like,
ugh.
That's a terrible thing for a coach to say. I'm sorry, particularly with a veteran team. If you got a team full of young guys, all 21, 22, 23, okay, you could say that they're fragile. But when you are a team of veterans and your coach is calling you fragile, that's a problem. That's a bigger problem than even I realized.
Yikes. I think you're right. That is a huge problem. A lot of red flags going up all over the place. I don't disagree.
You know what it reminds me of? Apollo 13. Main bus B undervolt. Bus C undervolt. Everything's lighting up. Boop, 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 boop. Master alarms going off. That's what it's kind of like. It's like we are right after the oxygen thing blew up and they were spinning, the losing track with gimbal all over the place. That's what it feels like the Islanders are right now, out of control. Can Jim Lovell and Barry Trotz get it back together? That's what I want to know.
Oh, okay. Alexander said, how about they have a sign that says no honking and no tailgating out there? Yeah, you get fined. I think it's like what, $50 or $100?
$250 for tailgating.
$250 fine to tailgate. Are you freaking kidding me?
That's a mistake. They're making
$250 freaking dollars. A $250 fine to tailgate. It's unfathomable.
If that's not New York, I don't know what else is.
Alexander said, Grump, I know you hate the taco line, but that's a Bill Parcells blueprint. Build through the trenches. That's how you win.
No doubt about it. But who wants to, do you want to hear, okay, look at how he picked up that stunt. Look at his footwork. See how he turned his foot.
Oh, yeah.
45-degree angle. He's able to cut that guy off. People don't want to listen to that.
What a film saying, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Do you know how many times I've heard that? LOL.
I thought about that when I said coulda, shoulda, woulda as
well. And the Meatball Parm said, Rangers 7, Islanders 2. And he said, by the way, saw the video. I'm pissed. What video?
The video with the guy who.
Zach Stacy. So I've totally forgotten.
The one that you brought up, that video. Oh, boy.
Alexander's saying Jack Campbell. That goalie Campbell's really good. Jack Campbell,
he's one of TJ's favorites. I'm sorry.
I've always liked Jack Campbell ever since he was drafted by the Dallas Stars. If the
Islanders had Jack Campbell, we'd be 2-11.
What a films. We're talking about the Zach Stacy video, and I'm glad you brought. Yeah, Zach Stacy. I would say if you don't want to be depressed or sad, I wouldn't watch the video. It's hard to watch, but it's a video of him beating his wife, girlfriend, significant other. I'm not sure what she is, and it's very violent and it's hard to watch. That's all I'll say. What a film said. Also, completely agree with you, Grump. We're out of control.
Yeah. And that's, but this is how we've looked most of the season.
Alexander's saying if this season spirals out of control, we're in last place. I don't think Trotz comes back next year.
Like I said on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast, the biggest thing they need to do this offseason is talk to Barry Trotz, particularly if we are finished early, and say, Barry, we're going in a different direction. Can you, are you on board to go in this new direction, incorporating younger players? And if he puts any hesitancy up there, he's got to go. Is this the guy?
No, Grumpy. This is not the guy. This is a video. Oh, hold on. What did you mean by is this the guy?
That Zach Casey guy.
No, Zach Stacy. No. He was a running back for the Jets. This is a guy who is a tight end for the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, did you happen to see the Kansas Jayhawks, Grumpy old man?
Obviously not, because I didn't know who this guy was. I thought he was somebody else.
The Kansas Jayhawks beat the Texas Longhorns on a 2-point conversion recently, this last week. And the Jayhawks are not a great football team. Remember, they were leading the Oklahoma Sooners at half at a home game, and they sent out a student-wide email saying, come to the game and support the Jayhawks. They're up on the Oklahoma Sooners. You got to come here now, because the attendance was so low. Now,
it was 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, I don't care. You got okay.
For students, if you're not involved in the event, students aren't getting up to make sure they're at a football game at 11 o'clock in the morning. They're still sleeping off a hangover.
Okay, 11 o'clock. It's more like 12 o'clock even in the afternoon by halftime. Anyway, that being said, right? It's a big thing for Kansas to win some football games, right? They beat Texas, even though Texas isn't great this season. I think they're 5-5 or 6-4. They're not fantastic. They happen to beat the Texas Longhorns, and the Kansas Jayhawk community was elated by it, Grump. I want you to watch. Now, this is the guy who caught the 2-point conversion to beat the Texas Longhorns. Because he caught a 2-point conversion for the Kansas Jayhawks, he got a contract with a company and an organization. And I want you to watch this. This is how big it means for the Kansas Jayhawks to beat a mediocre Texas team. But I love the commercial. I'll let you watch it, Grump.
Jared Casey, you just made one of the greatest game-winning catches in Kansas football history. Where are you going now?
Where am I going? I'm going to Applebee's. After I made the catch, life has been pretty great.
Here you go, Jared. Your 2 entrees and an appetizer from the Applebee's 2 for $22 menu.
Hey, you always got to go for 2.
I love it. I love it for the kid. This is one of my favorite name, image, and likeness moments. Like, obviously, right? Like, I'm going to Applebee's, right? Making a pun off of, I'm going to Disney World. What do you do after you score a 2-point conversion and beat the Texas Longhorns? I'm going to Applebee's. You know, it's just a little different in the NFL. They say, what do you do once you won the Super Bowl? But I guess the Kansas Jayhawks beating the Texas Longhorns at Texas, you know, that is like the Super Bowl for the Kansas Jayhawks.
Without a doubt. You know what? I'm happy for the kid.
I love it.
I hope
it's weird, but I love it.
I hope his payment wasn't just like a free meal that they put in front of him there. Is he like an offensive lineman?
He's a tight end.
So, and he looks like a blocking tight end.
I was going to say, he didn't look like one of those athletic tight ends that catch the football a lot. He looks like a guy maybe have 5 catches a season.
So, you know, as an offensive lineman, you could just probably pay him in food and he'd be happy.
I thought the same exact thing. I thought maybe for this contract, they might say, hey, buddy.
For the rest of your time at Kansas, you get free meals at Applebee's.
Exactly. That is exactly what I thought probably is going to happen. He's like, hell yeah, I'll take free meals at Applebee's for this. So
he'll be there 6 days a week.
I'll be on TV and I get free meals at Applebee's. I get free baby back ribs. I get free corn on the cob. Oh man. Hey, he
sounds like somebody else wishes they had a free Applebee's.
I tell you, if I was playing football, they gave me some sort of name, image, and likeness and said I could eat at a place for free. I promise you, I would be eating at that location every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Here's the thing. I've known TJ a long time. That is typical TJ. He'd rather take the food as opposed to money.
I would take free food in a heartbeat. And
over money. Okay.
And then if it was a good restaurant, in a nanosecond, Grump. In a nanosecond.
Okay.
I loved it though. I thought you would like this a little bit too, and I think that the listeners and the viewers of the live stream and the podcast would enjoy it as well.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. I'm happy for him. Honestly, he's not making $1 million. He's not getting $1 million. That much I can tell you.
No, absolutely not.
And for a guy, I mean, okay, it was a little. I don't bet they didn't do a whole lot of takes either. Looked like shoestring budget stuff to me, but he pulled it off. It was a little cringy. He's not a great actor, but he pulled it off. Good for you, Jared.
Oh, he was a walk-on, Grump, too. So that makes it even better. This Jared Casey guy is a walk-on as well.
Even better. Even better. Good for him.
Oh man, oh man. I was about to say you've got to love it. But this is just like I thought. This grumpy old man, this is a guy who does not touch the ball.
I bet his family still has a VCR, and you know they VCR'd that, and they're going to show that tape to all of his, you know, for the rest of his life. Hey, look at that. There's Dad. Hey, look, there's Grandpa. How was that Applebee's?
Oh man, dude, He'll be happy. He'll be living that. Oh, do you want to hear what his stats are, Grump? I've got those pulled up. He plays fullback. So oh my God, he had not recorded a single catch or rushing attempt all season long. This is the first time he's ever touched the football on the playing field.
He's a blocking back. That's what he is.
He's a freshman. That being said, he's a freshman from Kansas as a walk-on. First time ever touching the football, 2-point conversion touchdown, and gets himself a sponsorship deal with Applebee's. Hey, if they're going to give him Applebee's for 4 years, that's better than $10,000.
And as Andy Warhol said, he's living his 15 minutes of fame right now. Good for him. Good for him.
Great for him for certain. And Meatball Parm said, can't wait for Saturday with you guys. That's right. We're going live during the game, and then we're going to do the live stream right afterwards. So it's going to be a fun one for all those who can't make it to the game. They say, hey, tickets are too expensive, or hey, can't make it to the first UBS game. Hey, tune in and watch it. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be the first time Grumpy and I ever do a live stream during the game.
I guarantee will be more interesting than Brendan and Butch. Not as informative, but more interesting.
I can promise you not as informative, and I can promise you we're going to be a lot more uncouth, I would say, as well. We're not going to be so measured with everything we say. I'm just going to go out on a limb. What if Phil's saying, yeah, that's got to be epic, Meatball Parm. Can't wait. My son and I will be watching. Big night to have Grumpy. Epic.
I can't, I would like it better if Josh Bailey was playing, because since it's something we've never done before, I'd like to have one of my whipping boys just present, because they're just easy material for me, honestly. I'm going to have to dip into my bag, not too far down for Croc Nelson or Average Anders Lee, but just a little bit.
What if Phil's saying, ooh, Meatball Parm, you make me hungry every time I see your post. You got to change that pick. I'm being fat. I'll tell you, man, I haven't eaten dinner. I could go for a Meatball Parm too. That's all I'm going to say.
And it's funny. I used to work in an Italian restaurant and a pizzeria, and I was never a fan of Meatball Parms. I'd make myself something else, but that Meatball Parm looks pretty darn good.
Let me ask you this. Are you a fan when you make a Meatball Parm? I know you say you don't like to eat a lot of Meatball Parms. I'm a guy who likes to carve out a little bit on the top so it fits the meatballs better and I don't have to squish them.
The way to cook it is you take your meatballs and your sauce and your cheese and you put it in a carafe. And then you cut up your bread. It's got to be hard crust bread. I never like to pull out the actual bread part. And this way you let the cheese bubble up. See, that cheese isn't cooked enough for me. Not even close. You let it bubble up where it's brown on top and totally melted down. You just take it, slide, get your little towel, and you slide it right out of the carafe right onto that roll. Cut it in half, and you're ready to go.
You know what I like to do? I like to carve out a little bit on the top, not a lot, just a tiny bit, and I like to actually put garlic, make it like garlic bread and just singe it a little bit. But I like my sandwich to have some give. I don't want it to be crunching down and everything like that. I like my sandwich to be a little soft, Grump. Almost like I'm eating a PB&J, except it's
you want a Josh Bailey sandwich, nice and soft.
Exactly. Mario said, FYI, Robin Salo was paired with Zdeno Chara. Whoa! Hey, we're setting up Robin Salo for ultimate success. Hey, Robin, first time playing in the NHL, you're going to be playing with the biggest anchor we have on the ice, Big Z.
And Salo is going to be playing his offside. He's going to be playing his offside. I never understand that. I just don't. You think the veteran would play his offside to give the young guy, put him in the most comfortable position he could be in. But we do the exact opposite to that.
Alexander saying should have been a Longhorn commercial.
Yes. Now that would have been really, really good. That would have been, that's funny.
Oh man, I haven't eaten today, Grump. I told you I had that late dinner. Oh man.
No, could you imagine beating the Longhorns and doing a Longhorn commercial?
Holy shit, that's right. I've been thinking so much about the food. I didn't even get that. Oh man. If Texas Longhorn, if you're listening, this would be a fantastic.
First of all, stop. It's Texas Roadhouse. It's just Longhorns.
Longhorns. I'm sorry. If Longhorns, the food, the restaurant, if you're listening, that would be an excellent marketing campaign. It's just like when Bud Light sponsored Taylor Heineke, right? Where it was like a little, 2 or 3 days funny haha news, and people said, "Oh, awesome! I'll go grab myself a Bud Light. I'll go to Longhorn if they go ahead and sponsor that kid."
Or Texas Roadhouse would have been another one. That would have been good too.
Yeah, absolutely. Alexander said, "Can imagine Grump screaming at the TV, shoot the freaking puck, you a-hole.
Yeah, it's not that nice. I do yell at the television. I absolutely do.
Alexander said, I'll be listening to you guys at the Islanders South Florida meetup group at Duffy Sport Bar in Coconut Creek, Florida.
Yeah, nice.
Did you
sounds like Alexander lives in a real nice area.
Did you hear, guys, that Islanders meetup group by our friend Mikey Ryan, Mr. Ryan, they put the actual meetup group emblems for each one of the locations, and they have them inside the arena at UBS Arena.
Did not know that.
That was brand new news today.
Nice.
I figured you'd find an interesting grump. And again,
I bet they're not putting our logo up there.
I'll have to ask. I'll have to get in touch with our connections, Grumpy.
I'm going to guarantee you they're not putting our logo up there.
What makes you say that? Why do you think that is, Grumpy?
Because we're not bootlicking weasels. We're not bootlicking weasels. That's why.
We speak so glowingly about the Islanders, Grump. That being said, I'll let you see this here. Yep, there it is, Grump. It's all of the meetup groups that they've got so far. The emblems made for are on the banners. I thought it was great. It was, I'm sure Mikey's got to be extremely excited. It's got to be a surreal moment for him. Something that started off very, very small has, I think, united Islander fans across the entire globe.
I'll say the country anyway.
Well, yeah, fair enough, Grump. Fair enough. Meatball Parm saying, I love this podcast. Well, thanks, Meatball Parm. We appreciate it. And What a Film saying, no, it looks delicious. My favorite thing about New York is stopping at every corner for a perfect sandwich.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, I love some bread hot dogs, dirty water dogs, and I love them.
Hey, that's why you eat 6 of them. Alexander's saying, you guys like a lot of sauce on your Meatball Parm.
Not too much. Not too much. I mean, I'm not saying I just want a sprinkling of sauce, but I don't like it where it's swimming in sauce, because then it means that the roll gets soggy. It gets Josh Bailey-like, soft, limp.
Oh, yeah. I like
mushy.
Soft. It makes it easier to eat. Meatball Parm said, Texas Roadhouse is so underrated. That for certain is.
Their steaks are really good. They have some nice chicken meals, too.
Say New York City is the best city in the world. Dallas is also amazing. What a Film saying, Grump, let me ask you this. We're here towards the tail end. Had a good time shooting the shit, number one, talking some sports, number two. Grump, what do you have to say before we wrap today's podcast up?
I think Alexander sent us a fan fight.
He did send us a few fan fights. So now one of them was, Grumpy, it was covering.
I love the fan fight segment. We have to do a fan fight segment.
It's another fight from the Rams Chargers preseason game. It's not another angle. It's another fight from the same preseason.
Beautiful.
Well, here's the thing. I wonder to myself,
was that game held on a Friday?
I couldn't even tell you when that game was held, but it's like it breaks out, and I think to myself, man, oh man, I'm never going to a Rams Chargers game because I've seen about 4 or 5 different fights. That's when the lady first threw the beer at the guy and they beat the heck out of each other. We had the fight in the bathroom at the Rams Chargers game. And now we've got this fight here in front of the police officers and the security guards. So
once again, the videographer here commits the cardinal sin of not doing landscaping. Got to landscape that.
I don't need portrait. I need landscape. Come on, especially if you're going to.
Now, can you roll that back to the beginning? Because I think there was 2 cops standing. Yeah, there's 2 cops right there.
Trust me, you're going to see many cops all over the place, Crump. You don't have to worry about, I just caught cops. This all breaks out in front of the police. And
bad boy. What you going to do? What you going to do when it comes for you? I mean, they're right there.
The cool thing is you get to see expedited justice because you get to see people getting handcuffed for starting these fights and beating the hell out of each other automatically. So the good story is the people causing the issues who are probably drunk, beating the hell out of other fans immediately get put in the clinic. I'll let you watch this grow.
I mean, the cops are right there. It's like, what?
I don't know what the cops are doing, but I guess they're waiting for people to throw. There's Apex Security. Look at how many cops and police officers.
Look at theirs. Mr. Hat. Is that my boy, Mr. Hat?
I'm not sure if this is the same guy. This looks like the same Mr. Hat from the bathroom fight.
Oh, my gosh. He's wearing a Dickerson jersey. That's old school.
Maybe this is a different Mr. Hat.
Look at the dance.
The other Mr. Hat. I think the other Mr. Hat was a little skinnier. This Mr. Hat's quite hefty.
Where's my boy Tyson? Is he here?
Well, here's the thing. Look at this.
Look at
He's
look
just
at
like,
black shirt.
I'm ignoring this one. He's like, I'm not mixing it up on this. Black shirt's like, here you go. Go ahead and pummel the hell out of each other.
Well, they got Bronco boy. He got busted. He got Bronco busted. Write him down, cowboy.
Both Bronco fans are getting busted.
Down you go, facing the dirt, no problem. What happened? And there he is. It's Mr. Hat. Oh, I just find it interesting that only the Bronco boys are getting busted.
The Rams fans, I tell you, are fans that like to fight. I'm out of that. Don't ever fight with Rams fans.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna tell you, I can look at him. He might be 6'5". He's not any 250 pounds.
No, he's a little thin. He's a little thin in the upper body. You see
He's not weighing 250 pounds, but hey, he's a big guy. So I'll let you see this.
He's got his head in the air.
So,
maybe because he can't reach him. Maybe he couldn't reach him up that high. But that's how TJ fights, like this.
I'm not even looking at you, Grump, because I've got so many other things I'm doing. Oh, no, Grump. Come on.
TJ's got that Sergeant Slaughter chin. Ugh. Maggot. Hit me, maggot.
Oh, good gracious. So that was a fan fight. We got Grump. What do you have to say before we wrap today's podcast up, my friend?
I just want thank you to Alexander, of course.
Absolutely.
He is the fan fight king.
That it is.
And I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in, listening to the podcast. Again, we love being able to interact with you guys, talking sports and shooting the shit. We love just being ourselves and having a good time on this podcast. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. And hey, we'll be back at it again this upcoming Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, if it's your first time listening, I invite you to do a few things. And even if it's not your first time listening, I invite you to hit the like button, take it out on a date, and slam the hell out of it. Just go, boop, click the like button right there. Go ahead and subscribe, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. And again, Grump, thanks so much for being a part of the podcast today.
My pleasure.
Absolutely, guys. We hope you have an excellent rest of the day, and we'll see you Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.